Hello and welcome back to Cedar Porch Homestead. I'm JR and we have a winter advisory coming in like 3 days.
Winter is coming.
And if you know anything about living in South Texas, we can deal with extreme heat. Give us a hurricane, give us flooding, we can deal with it most of the time, but give us a couple cold days and we lose our minds. Just to make this Arctic blast that much more interesting, about 27 days ago, Boba had a little date with Tapioca and we've got to get her straw nesting box all put together, because why not have an Arctic blast while still expecting babies? Let's get that knocked out, and then let's get our house winterized and a little bit more prepared for this Arctic blast that's on its way. All right, so a quick trip to Tractor Supply and we have some straw, and this is what we use for our rabbits' bedding or their nesting boxes, because it keeps them from eating too much of it, and it also allows them to nest in it, make those little holes that keeps their bunnies all nice and warm. We like to pick on Courtney when she's working. So a little trick. We write the bunny's name on the back so they get the same nesting box each and every time until it's all used up, which we still got plenty of use out of this one, and then we just make them a new one. And again, we just shove it full of straw and make a little hole kind of for them so they know where to put all their fur when they start pulling fur. But let's get this in her pen. All right, to keep the goats nice and warm and sanitary, we're just gonna add some shavings to their side of the little shed here. But the first thing I'm gonna do, spread out a lot of this first Saturday lime, and the reason we do that, that helps kill any microorganisms, any little bugs, any parasites, anything like that that's living in those shavings that we already have down. Not only that, it absorbs and deodorizes all their droppings and urine, because goats and cows have a lot in common. They typically like to poo and pee where they sleep, which is gross, but it's one of the things that if you know ahead of time, then you can kind of work with that and not against it. And we do that by adding that first Saturday lime. You guys are the most curious things I have ever met in my life. You know it's not food though, right? We understand it's not food. Not food. All right, so just pretty much like anything else that we have, we use what's called the deep litter method. And this is all just pine wood shavings that help absorb and take in all those droppings and urine that they leave behind. And at the end of it, we pull it out and we compost it, and it becomes part of our garden soil by next season. So nothing really gets wasted, so all our inputs end up actually feeding into other parts of our homestead. Now, if you have cattle, if you have way more goats than what we have, and you're on more than a backyard setting, then all this, it can totally scale up. You can make it bigger, your compost piles can be larger, so you can create and generate a lot of amazing soil and compost by doing little methods like this. Okay, one other thing that I would like to add about goats is they are not as dumb. Now, don't get me wrong, they are some stupid animals, but they're not quite as dumb as you might think they would be in a cold weather situation, because our goats, well, when they get cold, they bundle up together. So all four of our baby goats, or all four of our goats, will actually be in that side of the pen on that deep litter, all huddled onto one another, creating that body warmth. Now, the most important thing is the way our shed is set up. It blocks the north and the northeast winds. So any of those cold fronts that we get, the shed itself is blocking the wind, and it's able to trap that body heat inside the shed, and they do really well. Now, this is our one and probably only actual cold front that we've had this year that is coming up, the way the temperatures are going to dip down in maybe the lower mid 20s, and they're going to be just fine. We don't have to worry about putting a heat lamp on those guys or a heater or anything else, because their body warmth and their fur coats are going to keep them absolutely fine. The biggest part is to keep them dry and keep them out of direct wind. Other than that, they're going to do just fine. All right, to keep my hens nice and warm, all I'm doing right now is putting up their plexiglass windows, And that's just going to keep the wind all blocked out. And for the most part, that's all we have to do for our chickens, because they go up in this coop every night. The coop itself is actually 3-inch insulated walls, because I built it kind of like the same structure that you would build a house, with stud work and R13 insulation. So that's going to actually keep them really warm. And in the winter, I know for a fact that with these hens in there and no wind blowing through those eaves, that they will build up enough heat to actually steam those windows. So I have no worries about these guys staying nice and warm in 20-degree weather. So I was told to come over here and take a little break because I've got half a cookie on its way out. Ashlyn spent this afternoon in the kitchen making some sugar cookies for one of her youth events tonight, and I get to experience deliciousness. Okay, I have very little complaints about life, but I was told I was getting half of a cookie.
Yes, and then I thought of...
Okay, we homeschool, and I don't know if we covered fractions, but I got a quarter of a cookie.
Yes, because everybody else got a quarter.
Why did you not split 2 cookies in half?
Because I only had 24 of them.
I'm not gonna complain, I'm gonna eat. Mmm. Mmm.
You got a little bit on your mustache.
That's okay, I'm saving it for later. Mmm. That's really good.
Yeah. I will be keeping the recipe.
Okay. You can do it. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so for our water line that's coming into the house, we already have it wrapped, but I like to just kind of make sure for this cold weather that it's extra wrapped. So just take an old junk towel, wrap it around, give it a couple extra layers of protection. And we have PEX that's coming into the house, so that PEX is pretty forgiving if it just does decide to freeze. If we're having like some galvanized pipes or something like that coming in our house, I probably would be a little bit more cautious. But with this PEX, it seems to do a pretty good job of not having the issues. But just make sure it's on there nice and snug so where it doesn't fall down, and it gives it that layer of protection that we need. All right, I know it's kind of hard to tell, but when we remodeled this house and we lifted it, obviously it's a pier and beam house. I had a company come and do a 1-inch closed cell foam on the bottom, and that has absolutely made a world of difference on cold floors in the wintertime. Because this house is elevated, all that cold air will just blow right underneath, suck a lot of your heat out. But with that closed cell foam underneath the house, that has done amazing at keeping the floor tolerable with no carpet and using those laminate flooring that we do have. Well, we're here up in the attic, and I have a confession to make. I have the bad habit of procrastinating, and procrastinating to the point where in the last 5 years, I have not got to put the insulation in my attic yet. And it's been up here for at least 2 years, just sitting there. Who wants to climb in their attic in 110-degree weather in the heat here in South Texas? Not me. Who wants to climb in the attic when it's freezing temperatures outside? Not me, but apparently it's time to do that. Now, our house actually does hold temperature really well while we have power. A couple years back, we had a really good Arctic blast. It dropped down in the single digits around here. And when it did that, we were fine up until the 4-hour window where we lost power and the temperature in the house dropped dramatically. So what we're going to try to do is get that insulation at least over my bedrooms and the girls' bedrooms and our living areas, because that's where we're going to be. So unfortunately, I ran out of time today, but I did get about half the house done. All the bedrooms, all the north walls, the bathrooms, everything over those rooms is all insulated. So at least we have that going for us. So the current temperature is 44 degrees, which I know for anyone that is anywhere north, you're like, man, it's like summertime for you. Well, here in the South, this is not summertime. This is cold. It is humid. The wind's blowing. It is extremely cold. but it's going to get colder. We're expecting temperatures to drop down into the upper teens, upper 20s, or low 20s, upper teens, and I'm not going to be here for it. I'm going to be on the fire truck taking care of the citizens of a major metropolis just north of us. So we are going to really try to take care of our plants real quick while we still can, because you put this much work into some things, you want to salvage them. So we're going to move a lot of these into my wood shop and hopefully save some of our plants.
It's not.
All right, so I know when it comes to freezing weather, there's a couple of the main P's, pipes, plants, and pets. So right now we're taking care of the plants. We have a couple more potted gardenias that Miss Ashlyn got for her flower garden. Since they're in pots right now, we're gonna go ahead and move those in the shop so that they can be ready to plant first part of the spring.
I think I can only grab one at a time.
I'll grab the other one. All right, so we're gonna move these to the shop, and then I have got some garden covers we're gonna try to lay out, but we also have to cover some of our bunnies because I think they would do just fine in the cold weather. But because it's going to get as cold as it's going to get, I want to make sure we at least keep most of the wind off our rabbits. So that is what we're gonna work on in just a moment. All right, so pipes. We're gonna be protecting our spigots. We only have 2 outdoor spigots. So we're gonna disconnect the hoses, and we have these spigot covers this year that we're gonna give a shot to, because we've had the big clumpy foam ones that go around it, and I haven't had a whole lot of success with those. So we're gonna try these this year and see if they work better. All right, we'll give it a shot. Start unfolding it. Nice. All right, you're gonna have to hold it as best you can, okay?
Oh, long way.
No, this is right. This is the way I want it, because we're gonna cut it. All right.
Thank you.
We'll see if that saves anything. I have no idea if this is gonna work. Say if you can't tie a knot, tie a lot. This would be going faster if I could have found my wire,
What wire was it?
my green wire.
Oh. The one that Bailey and I just used for something?
Probably.
We put it back. Or gave it to you.
That doesn't mean I put it back where it goes. What did I do? Oh, there it is. You fat cat.
So trying to get out. Looks good.
Okay, so we have prepared the best that we know how. We have covered our pipes. We've insulated part of our attic. I'll get to the rest of that, I promise. And we have taken care of our animals and created some deep litter for where they can weather out this cold weather. We have automatic waters that have drains on them. We've got some videos on that if you want to check those out. Make sure you do. And we are going to make sure that we bunker down and stay warm. if you want to stay up to date to see how we rode out this Arctic blast, make sure you're subscribed to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell so you're notified when we come out with those videos, and we will see you on the next one. Thank you so much.